Hey guys, welcome back. It is day 4 and today we're going to do some really fun stuff, and so I hope this code, it's starting to sink in a little bit more as we go each day. But yeah, so the first thing that we're going to do is open NetBeans per usual, and today I'm going to talk about Boolean operators, and if you don't know what those are, don't worry, we'll talk about them, and then I'm going to go a little bit deeper into functions. And so things will open up here, we're loading. And last time we worked on our coin toss, but we're not going to work on that today. So we're going to close it by doing Control click and find close down here. And we're actually going to open one of our recent projects, our car. And so if it wasn't in your recent projects, you can go File, Open Project, and then go to wherever your project was. But we're going to be working a little bit more on our car. And as I've said before, we have instance variables, we have instance methods, we have our big blueprint that says what our car is, and then down in our main function, we actually make these cars, our big body shop here, we make our cars and we do things to them. Last time we were messing with our Tommy car. People got in, people got out, and we added if statements that basically made it so that if people weren't in the car, they couldn't get out, and if there were too many people in the car, well then you can't put another person in. Notice as we made these instances, they all had separate max speed, min speed, weight, all of those things. But to get access to them, we had to use print variables to see what it was. Well, we can use something called getters and setters that will actually get the property and then set the property whenever we want to. So it's not just here in the constructor on initialization that we can change things, or within a method right here, we can actually just create a getter setter for each of these instance variables. What do I mean by that? Well, let's just dive in and then see what happens. Customarily, you usually put your getters and setters, things that get and set your instance properties, up at the top, right below your constructor. And the constructor is the thing that initializes the car or the object or whatever. And you can have multiple constructors as I've shown here. And so we will press enter a couple times and we are going to write some getters and setters. And so I'll do a comment, getters and setters. And so, like it says, a getter gets the property. So it gets whatever value is in min speed, whatever value is in max speed, whatever we want. And so we'll do public get max speed, open close paren, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and we will have this return type be an int because our property is an int. And all it'll do is return max speed. And I'm going to introduce a keyword here called this. And this may seem very, hazy at first, kind of weird to use, but I promise it will make sense as we go along. Basically what it means is that we are talking about this object. What object? It hasn't been created yet. Well, when we create a car like our Tommy car down here, we did TommyCar.getOut. Well, the Tommy car had many properties with it. It had its number of people in car, stuff like that, and it turned green here because we were accessing these properties inside of a function. But the proper way to do this is to do this dot number of people in car, because we're talking about like Tommy Car's number of people in car, or Alice's number of people in car, or whatever this object that we're working with is. I hope it kind of makes sense. It'll make sense as we go along later, but just try to kind of, internalize it and let it kind of sink in until it'll finally make sense. I promise it will. And so we're returning Tommy car, or Alice's, or the birthday car's max speed. Whoever this is, whatever object we're calling, get max speed on inside of our body shop, the main function. And so let's write a couple more. Public int get min speed, open close paren, and again we'll return this dot min speed, the family car's min speed, whoever this is. And so we'll just kind of do this for all of our variables up here. So we have weight is the car on, so we'll do double get weight, and we'll return this dot weight. Why would you even want to do this? Why would you even want getters and setters here in your program? Right now we've only created getters, but why would you even want them? Well, it makes your code a lot cleaner. So in our methods down here, instead of saying number of people car directly or max number of people in car directly and being able to, like here in our max speed, being able to set it just like this with the assignment statement, it's not as clean. Sometimes you don't want your max speed to change or you don't want your min speed to change unless you call a certain method. You don't want it to be kind of hidden in your code somewhere, changing and not knowing where it's been changing. And so it's much cleaner to have methods that say, okay, if I call this method, that's the only way I can set or get the max speed, the min speed, the weight, stuff like that. So let's keep going. Public and then Boolean is the car on, and then return this dot the car on. All right. Now I'm not going to do all of these properties because it takes a lot of time, but feel free in your free time to do the rest of these. Now we've only created getters. We have things that get the max speed, that get the min speed, that get the weight, that, I should add get here, is the car on. These get the properties that are associated with a certain instance car. And so we can get Alice's min speed for her car, or we can get Tommy car's weight or something by calling get weight. And it will return the exact weight of whatever instance it is, because not all cars have the same weight, and so we can use this get weight method right here to get it. Now what if we want to set these values? What if we get an upgrade and our max speed changes or our min speed changes? Well, the min speed's never going to change, and so we don't need a setter for that. But for our max speed up here, we might want to add public, and then this will just return void because we're setting it. And then we'll do set max speed, open close paren, and then open close curly bracket, and then we'll say max speed equals, and we can do this max speed because we're talking about this object that we're calling set max speed on. And by calling, I mean when we go down here, we called get out on the Tommy car instance by doing tommycar.getOut. By calling get out, we changed the number of people in Tommy's car, but we didn't change the number of people or anything with all cars everywhere. And so if we scroll up here, so we did this dot max speed. Okay, we have access to the max speed. What do we want to set it to? Well, we have to make it a parameter of the function. So just to kind of review, our public, private, or protected, that is the scope of this function. That's who can access it. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but for all lessons, you need to know anyone can access, anyone can set the max speed right now. Void is the return type. For get min speed, we return the int because we were trying to get the min speed, but here we're just setting something so we don't need to return it. We could return the new max speed or the old max speed, whatever we want, but that's not necessarily what we want to do here. Next, we have the name of the method, the name of the instance function, the thing that's going to change the instance, Alice's car, Tommy's car, whatever car we're working on. And then we have these two parentheses here, and inside we put parameters. And parameters are pieces of data that we use inside the function that are given to us outside the function. That might sound a little weird, but bear with me. And so we'll say int, we'll say new max speed. And so here we have the data type of our parameter, and then we have the new max speed, which is the name of our parameter. The entire thing is called the parameter. And so we will pass something in. So we'll put new max speed here. And now our max speed for this car, whatever car we're working on, whatever car that set max speed is called on, the new max speed is that car's max speed. Now down here we have upgrade min speed. Let's change this a bit. Right now it sets two variables, but it isn't a setter. It's a method. It's just a regular method that doesn't have set in front of it. That's the only thing that makes something a setter. It's just a type of method that we can use. And so instead of doing this, we could do upgrade max speed, and we can delete this code. And we can say when we upgrade the max speed, it means the max speed, whatever it was initially, we're going to up that by 10. And so say the max speed was 60 originally, well, we'll up that by 10 plus 10. Now the max speed will be 70. So how do we do this with our getters and setters? Well, we can just call set max speed and then put in an argument for the new max speed. So we'll say get max speed, and that will get the max speed for us, but we want to set it to 10 plus, so we'll do plus 10. So if the max speed was 20, we'll do 20 plus 30, the new max speed will be 30. And because this doesn't return anything, there's nothing to save, there's nothing to return, so this stays void. Kind of makes sense? Doesn't this look a lot cleaner than the 2 lines that we had that were setting things, and there's a lot less green? We want less green in our main methods. Here, we were just practicing learning how to code, so we didn't mess with the getters and setters, but in the future when you code, you only want to have this green in your getters and setters. It makes it a lot cleaner, a lot easier to debug, and it's very helpful. And so we aren't going to fix up these methods right now, but feel free if you're making the getters and setters to do that for your project. Now we move on to Boolean operators. What are those? Well, they're basically 3 things: and, or not. And these 3 Boolean operators are helpful inside of your if statements. They have to do with conditions, hence the Boolean and the Boolean operators. And so usually you have if, then a condition, then whatever you want to do if the condition's true, and then maybe you have an else and then whatever else happens if the condition is not true. Well, these help you with that. Instead of doing a really long chain of if and else statements, Boolean operators help you condense this. And so there are 3 main ones, like I said: and, or, not. And is if, and then you have 1 condition, and then you have 2 ampersands, and then you have another condition. Basically what this means is if the first condition and the second condition, they both evaluate to true, then the entire statement evaluates to true, and whatever's inside the if brackets happens. It's executed. Otherwise, the else is executed, or if there isn't an else, nothing happens. Then we have or. Or is if, then you have a condition, then you have 2 parallel bars, then you have another condition. If either of those conditions are true, if both of them are true, one of them has to at least be true, then the entire thing evaluates to true, and then whatever's inside the if curly brackets gets executed. Otherwise, again, if there's an else, that'll get executed, or nothing happens. Then we have not. Not we've kind of already talked about. Basically, it's an exclamation point either in front of the whole statement, or you can do an exclamation point equals to say not equal. And so you'd have if, then the exclamation point, then a condition, and only 1 condition here, and then you have if the whatever's in the condition evaluates to false, then it'll get notted, it'll become true, and then whatever in the if curly brackets executes. Otherwise, again, if there's an else, that'll do its thing, and then if there isn't one, then nothing happens. So that's a lot of talk. Let's do some stuff. Well, we will close our car project here, and we are going to create a new project. We're going to go to File, New Project, per usual, hit Next here, then we'll say, guess the number is the project name. We're going to go to our desktop, wherever you want, again, finish it up, it'll save, and we're just going to create a simple method. We're going to do public will be the scope. We're going to make this static so we can just call it directly in our main function. Basically, static makes it a class function, a class method. We'll talk about it later, but basically it means I don't have to create an instance to use this function. Then we'll have our return type be nothing. We will call this function how big is my number, and then open close paren, then open curly bracket, close curly bracket, and inside here we'll do int x. And that'll just be the number that we use as our parameter. Whatever argument we put in there will become x, and then we'll mess with it there. This function is going to print out how big our number is. And so if our number is between a certain amount, it's small. If it's between a certain amount, it's big. Otherwise, it's out of the range. So how do we do this? Well, we'll do if, open paren, and then we'll say if x is greater than or equal to 0, and x is less than or equal to 10, then it's pretty small. So we'll say system.out.println, our number is pretty small. Then we'll add a semicolon, and then we'll do an else, and we can actually add an if right here. If x is greater than or equal to 11, and x is less than or equal to 100, then our number is pretty big. So we'll do system.out.println, our number is pretty big, semicolon, and then we'll do an else, and then otherwise, basically, if none of these conditions are true, then system.out.println, our number is out of range, semicolon. So what is happening here? Well, if our number is between 0 and 10, the first set here will be executed. If our number is between 11 and 100, the second set will be executed. Otherwise, our number is going to be out of range. How do we know that 0 or 1 or something won't end up in this last bracket? Well, because we have a chain of if else, only one of these will print out for each time we call this function. And so either our number will be pretty small, pretty big, or out of range because of the setup for the if else. Only one of these will be executed. And with the and statements here, we actually made our code a bit cleaner because we didn't have to have extra if else stuff to check for these conditions. So let's call it. Let's go to our main method here. We'll say how big is my number? We'll open and then we'll say, I don't know, what number? We'll do kind of the base cases here, which would be the equal signs. So we'll do 0, and then we'll just kind of copy this here, and then we'll paste it a bunch, and then we'll change the numbers inside. Let's do one more. So we'll have 0, we'll have 10, and those should both print small. Then we'll have 11 and 100. These should both print big. And then we'll put like, I don't know, 5, and then 75 for some in between, and then we'll do 2 out of range, so -1 and 105. We'll play. So down here we have we're small, we're big, we're small, we're big, we're out of range, and then we're out of range. So it worked out perfectly. Now in this method, every single case is caught because we have this final else here. But if I took this final else out, things would only print out if our x here was between 0 and 100 inclusive. Now let's take this away and do something a little bit more fun. We are going to play a guess the number game with the computer. Last time we learned how to use random numbers. So in this case, we're going to have the computer think up a number, and it's going to be in a specific range, and then we, as the user, have to guess what this number is. The computer will give us some clues along the way, and then it will tell us if the number is what we think it is. So how do we do this? Sounds like a fun game, right? Well, we have to create some properties first. We can just keep this method right here because it's not going to bother anyone, and we'll just add some white space here. And we need a property in this game that will hold the number that we are trying to guess. And so we'll do int, and we'll call this the number because it's the number we're guessing. And we don't know what it's going to be. It could be any number, you know, we don't know. But it's going to be an integer. We know it's not going to be a decimal. And so we'll just keep that there. And then we also need a range. So we'll know it'll be 0 and then to a max number. And so we'll do int max. And this will represent like the max number that the computer could possibly come up with. Now we need a constructor. So we'll do public guess the number, open close paren, open bracket, close curly bracket, and we'll set this stuff up. So last time we did the math.random, the new random stuff, so we're just going to do that here. And so we'll do random, R-A-N-D, new random, open close parentheses, semicolon, and it should ask us to import something. We'll import it. So nice I don't have to remember that, memorize it or anything. You can just click the button and it's there. And then we'll say the number is going to be a random int here. And so we'll do the number, math.abs. Then we'll say rand.nextInt, and then we will do mod, and we'll actually do our max plus 1. That'll be what will happen. Why do we need this? Well, like we talked about in the last video, this first portion, the math.abs, just gets a random number out in the universe between 0 and 5 billion thousand something. We want this number between 0 and then the max number. Okay, well, let's say our max is 100. Well, if we didn't have this plus 1 here, it would go between 0 and 99. Well, we want it to go between 0 and 100, and so that is what this will do. This will give us a random number between 0 and 100 because we have to add 1 here to make it reach 100 at a certain time and give it that actual probability. So now that we have our random number, we need a way to play the game. How do we, the user, say, oh, this is my guess? Well, we can create a new method called play, so we'll do public void play, open close parentheses, then open curly bracket, enter, close the curly bracket. And before we implement this method, we are going to add another variable here called scanner. So we'll say scanner equals new scanner system.in. And this basically allows us, and then we'll import this, and this basically allows us to input things into the keyboard and for our program to recognize it eventually. So going back to our method, we'll do int move equals scanner dot next int. So nice, that just pops up, and then semicolon. And basically what this will do is it'll get whatever we enter down here inside the console, it'll get it and set it to this int move. Then we'll say if move, whatever we said, our move is greater than the number, then we kind of want to give us a hint of what the number could be. So we could print out system.out.println, and we can say your number is too big. And then the user could guess something smaller. And then we'll say if move is less than the number, then we'll print out system.out.println, your number is too small. And then we need something, if we're right on the money, we guess the number, else, and we forgot the else here. We don't necessarily need the else here, but it's cleaner and it's one less line executed, because if this first statement is true, we don't need to go to the rest of the code down here, but if I didn't have the else, no matter what, this next if statement would be executed, and it would just say false, and then whatever's inside these curly brackets wouldn't be. So anyways, it's cleaner to have the else here. So we'll do else, we're right on the money, so we'll do open close curly bracket, and we'll say system.out.println, you got it, bro. Something like that. Right now this will only work for one round of play. So I do my move, it'll tell me what it is, and then I don't get another chance to do my move. So we can add something called a loop that will just continually do this until we get to the end. So this is going to be kind of new, don't get freaked out. We'll press enter here, we'll say while true, open close curly bracket, and then we can do something called Control A, and this will do source format, and this will just format our code so it's prettier. And right now what happens is while we're true, we'll keep going and you can keep guessing numbers. So basically this means forever we're going to keep guessing numbers, but when we get to the right number we want this loop to break. So we'll do break, semicolon, and now the loop will break once we get it. Basically the loop means, okay, so the first time we call this method, we'll go to our move, we'll make our move, we'll print out something, and then at the end of this, if this else right here isn't executed, we'll go right back up to the top here and do our move again. But it might be a little bit more obvious in practice, so let's run it. First, we're going to have to create a new guess the number instance, so we'll do guess the number, guess game equals new guess the number, open close paren, semicolon, and before we forget, we should set our max right here, and we can do max equals, I don't know, 100. And we want to set it before we call it here in the number, or else it's going to error because we haven't set the max to anything. So we'll copy that, put it right here. And before I said you should only have this green inside of the getters and setters, and I didn't make them here just because we're trying to make a quick game, but you should also have your instance variables directly accessed inside of your constructor because you're knitting a new object. So we'll scroll down here, we'll do guess the number, and then we'll do guess game.play. So this will initialize our objects, set our max to 100, then get our number, whatever it may be out there in the universe between 0 and 100, and then we'll play the game. So let's run it. And this should be lots of fun, and nothing happens. Well, we need to say something so we know what to do. So we'll add something right here. We'll do system.out.println. Welcome to my game. Period. Try and guess my impossible number. Let a space here. It's between 0 and then we'll put a max here, guess game.max. Very bad to access it here, but we're just kind of doing it anyway, being reples. And then we'll say inclusive. And then we'll say just type a number to get started. and then we'll do semicolon, then we'll run it, but first we have to cancel this. Cancel, then we'll run. Okay, welcome to my game. Try and guess my impossible number. It's between 0 and 100 inclusive. Just type a number to get started. So we'll say 50. Hit enter. Your number's too big. Okay, we should guess something else. So let's do 25. Your number's too small. 40. And then we'll try, I don't know, 45. We're still too small. 49. Too big. Okay, 47. You got it, bro. And then it builds successfully. We're done. The game is over. Feel free to mess with the maxes here or play different games and stuff like that, but it will work because of our inequalities here and the way we print things out right here in the console. So in this video, we talked more about functions, about getters and setters, and how it's cleaner to do a get and set function for each instance variable right in your code. We talked about Boolean operators and or not, and basically what they mean in code and how we can use them to do different methods, different functions. We did how big is my number and printed out different things based on how big the number was. And then finally we created a game called Guess the Number, which basically said, okay, I'm going to pick out a random number as the computer. You try and guess what my number is. I'll give you hints along the way, but I'll never tell you the number. But when you get it, I'll tell you that, and the game will end. And so that's it for this video. The HackerRank challenge is down below in the description, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on this video. I hope you learned something, and I will see you tomorrow.